Pennsylvania.
Hello, Patrick. Hi.
All right, tell them who we're talking. We are knocking these interviews out. Tell them who we're talking about today.
And shocking, they're all women. Ru Powell from Undercover, Underage, and Sosa Undercover.
Have we ever interviewed a man on this podcast?
Fuck no.
I can't imagine. Maybe Bob came on once.
We talk a lot about Barbara, which we love.
We do.
And Zach.
But Ru Powell, as you all know, we know her from Undercover, Underage.
We covered Undercover, Underage. I want to give a major shout out to our beloved Tom Kelly.
Oh, we would interview him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
See, some men are okay, Jillian Pensavalle.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like a couple. So Tom was like, I really think you guys should cover this. So then we looked into it and we did. But also without Tom, this interview wouldn't have happened because he gave us the contact information.
Yes.
So Tom is a legend in his own right. But thank you, Tom, for bringing this to us and helping make this interview happen.
Tommy, we love you. So as we were saying, Ru founded SOSA, which is Safe from Online Sexual Abuse. Just as a parent, I had so many questions about what are we supposed to be saying? We had a long talk with Daisy last night after our interview with Ru.
Good.
Basically we just took her talking points and went right to Daisy.
We're going to give a content warning at the top of this. This is a hard listen because it's all really bad. Ru is super honest. This is her work. This is what she does. But we talk about things that could be very triggering for you.
And it's not for kids. This is not one for the kids.
But talk to them about it.
Really, we really are direct with Ru, what exactly should we say? She tells us. So it's, you can listen and get it verbatim, and it is so super important.
Just icons on icons on icons.
Icons on icons on icons.
She's doing the good work.
She is.
She really is. And it's hard. It's not easy to be in that headspace.
Totally.
Doing what they do. So really, thank you all, everyone at SOSA, for doing this because obviously we need it, unfortunately, because the world is on fire.
It's unbelievable.
It's really unbelievable.
Well,
I resent it. I personally resent it.
Me too. I don't like it either. All right, here's our interview with Ru. We'll say a quick goodbye on the way out.
Oh my goodness. Ru, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It sounds weird to say that we're such big fans of you, considering how disgusting the show is. And I say that with love, but we are just in awe of everything that you do.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. SOSA is a great team. We're a small team, but everyone's really passionate, and this crew is just a great crew to work with.
Yeah, I think that's something that really jumped out to us too, the teamwork that it takes for these personas to really come to life.
Yes. So you guys covered episode 1 of Undercover Underage, and that was filmed now, 4 years ago. And then after Undercover, we did 2 seasons of Undercover Underage, and now we have SOSA Undercover, which is the continuation of that. And we just finished filming our 3rd season of that. So, we're 5 seasons in, and everything has to evolve with time, just things kids were saying 6 months ago aren't super relevant now. Things that we were doing in 2021 are also no longer relevant now. So people will watch an older episode and say, oh, you're using this app? I'm like, actually, that app is defunct now. So now we're using XYZ. So, yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of the history of SOSA, how it came to be, and how you decided what the mission was going to be?
Yeah, so SOSA is, we're a nonprofit organization, and the goal is ending sex abuse and exploitation of children in all its forms. The focus that we have is online, right? And how it starts online, and then how it evolves beyond that. So essentially, we find that perpetrators are looking to do a number of things. They are looking to be hands-on perpetrators, right? They're looking to engage in hands-on abuse. And we're talking to perpetrators who want to be hands-on predators. We're talking to folks who are looking to collect CSAM, child sex abuse material, what's still legally in some states known as child pornography. They're collecting, disseminating, distributing, CSAM. We're also talking to people who just want to be sexually gratified, and they want to sexually gratify themselves while they're talking to a minor online. And of course, that's really abusive as well. And then we've also, in times, sort of stumbled upon the human trafficking piece of abuse. And I started SOSA back in 2020. Prior to SOSA, I was a career-long writer, and I was writing about vulnerable populations. I was writing about sex trafficking and of women and children. And I was talking to investigators and going with investigators into brothels in different countries and really kind of learning a lot about that. And then I was also in the tech space. And, the age that I am, I didn't grow up with a smartphone. My parents were only concerned about people that were geographically, like within close proximity to me. They were wondering, am I gonna get tossed into a trunk walking home from school when I pass the 7-Eleven? Is the volleyball coach or the tennis coach super creepy? They didn't have to worry about a stranger 5 states over because that stranger 5 states over didn't have access to me.
Yep.
Now, with the advent of the internet and smartphones and technology, which I think is wonderful, it's allowing, the three of us to talk. It's made it so that there are more paths with which to harm a kid. And that really struck me because I'm part of this essentially first generation of parents that are raising kids that have smartphones. And so it's just new, uncharted territory, and kids need support. And that's why SOSA started.
Let me ask you, because I have an 11-year-old and she's just gotten her first cell phone. It is technically a smartphone, but we've been working with a company that actually advertises with our podcast. That it's giving kids technology as they sort of age into it. So she can really only text on it. But that aside, can you tell us, parents, people who love kids, who don't have kids, people who want to protect children, what don't we know that is happening that you think we need to know is happening?
I think a lot of parents will say, hey, so the really bad apps, right? Like, what are they there? It's Snapchat, it's TikTok, Instagram, what else? And the hard truth is that it's not really one app in particular. It's any platform where people can talk to each other. So it can be, I'll give you 2 horrifying examples. As a parent, when my kids were really young and I needed 20 minutes of quiet or peace, or to be able to, make dinner, or just to have one of my children stop touching me, I wouldn't think twice about downloading like a cute coloring book app and handing it to a 6-year-old and saying, all right, go nuts. We'll set a timer and I'll come back once, dinner's in the oven. I've consulted with companies, and they're like, hey, we have a really big predator problem on our coloring book app. It's really any platform where you can talk to someone. We've had perpetrators say, hey, I don't feel comfortable texting you, or I don't feel comfortable snapping you. Let's both download the same makeup app, and I'll talk to you on the makeup app.
It's so interesting that you're saying this now, just the timing of it. So we just covered Hey Beautiful, the anatomy of a romance scam, and it's 3 episodes, and it's about these romance scams where it's like coercive control, or you meet someone on some app, or they are reaching out to you, some scammer, and suddenly it's like, oh, I need $20,000 for my daughter's surgery. There is no daughter, there is no surgery. But one of the women met this guy on Words with Friends, and it hit me like, oh, there's a chat. You can chat on Words with Friends. So everything you're saying, obviously I know it's true, but it's like, oh, there are so many apps that you would never think about. And especially for kids playing a game. Yeah.
Sure. And what are parents to do? I mean, like, do I stand over my daughter's shoulder at all times while she's on the iPad? Or, is it just a constant dialogue? What do you recommend?
We have parents that say, I just won't let my kids have a phone. And that's totally fine. But I don't know about you, but like my kids, they get a school issued device at school. Yeah. Like they're supposed to do their homework on it. They're turning in assignments, or they go to their friends' houses. So unless you are deeply Amish and you are not going to let them around any sort of device, and none of your community will let them near a device, it is really important to talk about online safety, whether they have access to an iPad regularly or not. We've had instances where kids are being, targeted on their school issued email account or their school issued whatever account. And, that's really concerning. Or, we'll talk to parents, and this one mom reached out and said, I have a really big problem. My daughters are, like 9 and 11, and they don't have phones, but they went over to their friend's house and they went on some website. And, the 3 of them, my 2 daughters and their friend, they're on this video website, and this guy is talking to them, and he's masturbating, and they didn't even know what was happening.
That was.
And so talking to them, it was kind of like, hey, listen, I know you saw something and it was really scary, or maybe it was really confusing. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't even your friend's fault who went on the website. It was that guy's fault, because that guy broke the law. And you did such a great job, like going to mom and telling her what happened. And so, I think that, so for me, I have 3 kids who are older than yours. They're all teenagers. And I kind of went about it the same way, where it's like, all right, you have a phone. first thing you can do is you're allowed to text. Okay. And then,
Yeah.
okay, now you can also listen to podcasts and you can listen to audiobooks. All right. Now you can have Pinterest, which also, even Pinterest, you have to be concerned. Like Pinterest is innocuous, right? Like my kid's going to see what, like embroidery patterns and cute
Right.
shoes, but also, you can communicate on Pinterest. So these are all things to think about. I think the best and most effective way of preventing any sort of is just constant communication with your kids about what can happen online. And I liken it to the sex talk. I don't just have the sex talk with my kids once. It's not one and done. It's a regular conversation. And the same with online safety. And one of the things that I think the show has done, whether it's Undercover, Underage, or Sosa Undercover, I think it's been a really good resource for some parents and caregivers because they'll watch it, depending on age. Well, they'll watch it with their kids. And it really starts a dialogue like, hey, this is what can happen online. Like, oh gosh, the whole photographer saying, you're so pretty, you could be a model. Somebody definitely DM'd me that once. But I think for parents, being really anti-victim blaming and always leading with care and concern, that's the best way to go.
Rue, I have a question because I'm not a parent. So my question is, these school issued devices, I was under the assumption that they're the most bare bones, just the app that the school needs or whatever, that they can't be chatting. Is that not true?
No, some kids have Discord for school.
My daughter has a school issued Chromebook that, like, obviously the only apps that are downloaded to the device are the ones that the school is having them use. But they can, like, once they're on the internet, they can go anywhere.
Is it not possible to lock down these devices so
you
that
can,
they
but to what extent, right? Like there are things that mean other things. Like, okay, maybe it's not like when, I was in high school and you go online and you can just search hot boobs and something pops up, right? Now there's definitely like blockers, but you can still accidentally get around things.
I think one of the things your show is highlighting so well is how the perpetrators are learning to get around these sorts of things. Like, for example, saying download what we would think of as an innocuous coloring book app. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that? How are you seeing the perpetrators sort of, for lack of a better word, getting better at this? And is there any way to get ahead of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one way that SOSA helps law enforcement is we are also able to help them uncover who the really bad actors are, who's a bit more practiced, who's a bit more methodical, and who's a bit more risk averse. There are some times where, we've got friends in different ICAC teams and they'll do a quick op and they'll get a bunch of turnaround. And sometimes they're not necessarily the most intelligent villain, right? They're not a super villain.
We saw that in episode 1 for sure. Like there was that one guy that was doing nothing to protect his identity.
No, I was like, your full government name? All right.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Everyone gets to go home early today.
Yeah, but you'll see in future episodes that, these people are using. We've seen people use multiple phones, use burner accounts, use like just a lot of, assuming someone else's identity. There's just like a lot of subterfuge around it. Yeah, I mean, we certainly try. One of the things that we do, which you won't see in the first couple seasons, is I also not only, we have other people on the team now, different decoys, people who look younger and don't need as much retinol as I do, that they pose as minors, but will also pose as teenage boys. Because I think it's really important to show that kids are targeted irrespective of gender and sexuality. Yep. But also, I'll go undercover as the bad guy. So I'm a fellow perpetrator of some sort, and I'm lurking in the dark corners of the internet also as a bad actor. And that's a way that we identify. So it's, you learn a few things when you pose as somebody super creepy.
And then you have to act like you're one of them and try to get information out of them that way? Like, do you have to share information or a fake photo to prove that you're not a cop or whatever?
Yeah. So to give you an idea, I've gone under as somebody who's looking to purchase CSAM and also as somebody who is selling children. So, and in that case, we had one perpetrator who's down that way who showed up to purchase time with an 11-year-old. And he showed up with a Happy Meal, and I had been, all right, what do you want? You want to do this? You want to do that? Okay. 3 hours, cash, bring lube. And it's this language around sex work, but also language around trafficking. And he showed up, and his trial is pending. But yeah, there are times where, you go under as the bad guy in order to sort of determine who's the type of person that actually wants to buy a kid, sell CSAM, who's creating CSAM, who's XYZ.
We had a question in the middle of the episode that you probably heard us ask, and then we were like, oh, we'll ask her. So, that Kevin guy, air quotes, Kevin or whatever, what if these pieces of shit ask you for something that's not your feet? How would you get around that without sort of making it obvious that you're trying to get them, right? But I'm sure, then I'm thinking, well, an 11-year-old, I wouldn't want to, maybe you could just say, I don't feel comfortable doing that. But how do you get around them asking for graphic images from you?
Yeah, so there are, I can't give up too much of the secret sauce, but I will say, so every state is almost a little bit like its own country. So there are different laws, whenever we work with law enforcement in one state versus another, versus, local versus state versus a task force, whatever. There's a different set of rules. So we have to go in knowing what are the rules of engagement? What are your parameters here? But then also internally at SOSA, we have our own parameters. Okay, we're not going to send X, Y, Z. Okay, we won't send all right, if it's something that we'd wear to the beach, like a swimsuit, okay, but I also have to be protective of the people on my team. And before someone is a decoy, I say, you need to be aware that your photos will end up on the dark web. Your photos will be shared. We've had it where, another case unrelated to SOSA searched his device, and there's photos of me and multiple of our SOSA decoys on their computer. It's
Wow.
that's something that everyone sort of has to come to terms with. Different law enforcement in different areas can sort of get around those rules in various ways. Yeah, there are things that we do in order to mitigate risk and minimize concern and at the same time protect the team.
I wanted to ask you about your decision to be so hands-on in your work and sort of how you protect yourself and what kind of toll this work takes on you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's rough. It's certainly rough for the team. We're a really small team. So we have 5 people that are full-time. There's a lot to do when we run these ops, and we don't run them, year round. We take breaks. We're either usually getting ready for an op, running an op, or dealing with the aftermath of an op, and there's usually mountains of evidence and a bunch of other things that we have to do. I think at SOSA, I'm thinking about, of course, my own mental health, but also the well-being of everyone on the team. So you don't want to do an op? Okay. You want to skip this op? That's fine. We do, just as an organization, a lot of mental health days, making sure that people have what they need in regards to that. We also minimize how much people have to see. So let's say, I've got a 22-year-old woman on the team who's a decoy. I won't have her read any of the messages. She'll do a call, but she doesn't need to see what people are saying about her body.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So someone else on the team and I will run all of those messages. And when it's time to do a call, we're going to say, okay, up to speed. And I'm right next to them and I'm writing things down. And I'm say this, say that. But really, we want to protect everyone's well-being. If someone sends CSAM, we have a lot of protocols around that. We go devices down as a team, and then I'm handling it with law enforcement, so nobody else has to see that. So we really just want to protect whatever child this is. And 2, we don't want to expose everyone to every terrible thing.
It sounds like you get exposed to every terrible thing.
I do get exposed to a lot of terrible things. Yes, it's true. And I think, I always try to think of the big picture, right? Better me than an actual kid. We're absorbing this instead of a kid absorbing it. And Jillian, you mentioned not having kids, but there's a quote that I actually wrote and put on a plant on my desk. And I tell people this all the time, that you don't have to be a parent to care.
We
She
say
says
that
all
the
time.
time on the show, because I hate when men especially are I have a daughter, I have a sister, and I'm you don't have to have these things. I don't have a cat, but if a cat I don't have a kid, but this shit keeps me up at night. So
Yeah.
I'm with you.
This is a really great James Baldwin quote, and I'll have to send it to you. I wrote it and I put it on this plant on my desk that is probably dying a little. The children are always ours, every single one of them, all over the globe.
Yeah.
I really like that because people will say, "Oh, it's because you have kids." No, it's not because
No,
I have
it's not.
kids. Do I have an interesting vantage point or like a different sort of set of concerns? Sure. But it's not just about because it's not just, I'm actually not really worried about my kids when it comes to this because they're so well versed. They know what to do. Like, they know to raise their hand when there's a concern. They're like, "Oh, mom, look at this text I got." I'm like, "All right, it's just spam. You didn't really need to call me over for that one. It's fine."
How amazing that you have cultivated this environment within your own family that they feel so comfortable going to you about like quote every little thing. How incredible that is for them.
It's definitely not like, I know that if I was a kid and something had happened to me online, there's no way in hell I would have told anyone. I would have kept that to myself forever and ever. Amen. I would have suffered with it quietly and silently. And I think that, with my girls, it's very much like I think every kid deserves a soft place to land. So no matter what, I always want them to say, instead of, "Oh my God, this thing happened, like we can't let mom find out." I would rather them say, "Oh my God, this thing happened. Let's tell mom, she'll know what to do."
Yes.
So that's what I want. That's the kind of relationship that I want. And I feel like I've cultivated with my kids, and I hope I continue to cultivate with them. And I want that for kids for sure.
Can you talk a little bit about you and your organization's relationship with law enforcement? Because you're such a resource for them. You're handing them this on a silver platter, but have you ever had any pushback?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places that are like, "Hey, thank you so much. We do not work with civilians." And I understand that. And part of that too is because, there are a lot of vigilante groups out there. And a lot of them are like showing up to meets and they've got, cameras out and they're live streaming or like they're beating someone up or publicly shaming. And a lot of those times, and I know they don't like when I say this. And so, and I understand the drive behind it. I understand why people really like watching this content, right? But so this is me just like quoting law enforcement that we've worked with. A lot of those cases aren't prosecutable. Now, some of them are, and some of them will show you like their caseload, and I think that's great. But a lot of times, like, I'll talk to a friend who's a detective, and she runs this ICAC team. She's like, "I can't do anything with this. Like, the DA won't touch it." And I think that, I'm very pleased that we are able to present this evidence in such a way that everything that we present is prosecutable. But I also understand why some law enforcement entities would go, "You know what, we can't, you guys are a civilian group, we can't do it." But I think at this point, for many, we have a good enough of a reputation where, I'll meet with the DA's office, I'll meet with law enforcement, I'll show our methodology, I explain that we're a resource for them. What do you guys need from us? And so our track record has sort of has been the proof for us.
Right. And it took so much work to get there too, to be such a reputable organization where people listen to you.
Yeah, I think just being able to be a resource for law enforcement has been great. And I think law enforcement that you talk to that's worked with us, they always invite us back. So the relationships that we've made have been really good, but we also understand that some law enforcement's like, we can't.
Yeah. This probably either was answered on the rest of the series, which we'll get to, or you can't answer it at all. But in your first episode of Undercover Underage, not the new show that you have, do you have any updates on Kevin? The internet is dying to know.
Yeah, I know. I'll say this. So our cases can go a number of ways. And for those of you who are upset by season 1 of Undercover Underage, I promise you, like, season 1 walked so season 2 could run.
What are they mad about?
Oh, like what happened? Or yeah. And there are sometimes, so our cases can go a number of ways where we'll say, "Okay, here's the bad guy. Let's go get the bad guy." And we'll hop in the car and we'll go get the bad guy. That is helpful when we're within like a specific jurisdiction. Like, okay, this is the jurisdiction. Let's go round them up. Like, let's go sirens, and that's we're go. And there, that's sort of like immediate satisfaction, or at least immediate. Like they're gonna be facing, the judge and so on. When it's in a different jurisdiction, the wheels of justice can move really slowly because somebody has to call that person there, and there's like an exchange of information, and then evidence is passed along, and essentially we call that like we're giving someone a lead. And what they do with that is what they decide to do with that. And sometimes we don't know, and sometimes we do know, or sometimes, it just depends. We've had it in the past where I'm like, okay, hey, this guy messaged this guy. What do you think? And they'll go, okay, can we take over the account? Yeah, no problem. Here are the logins. Go nuts. And an arrest will be made that way. And then sometimes it's just taken as a lead, like, okay, you've identified this person. We're going to conduct our own investigation now.
Right.
And we'll see what happens. So I don't have any satisfactory updates for you.
That's fair enough. I figured I would have found it somehow, because these people, I mean, and the thing is, as a viewer of your show, I understand we do want that, like, go, 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 let's get a moment, but that's not always possible.
I will say that Kevin was one of those, I don't know, like if it was the movies, I will say that Kevin escaped to his house on an island somewhere. If that makes sense.
It does.
One of the questions I had watching, or one of the feelings I had watching the documentary was like, I wish everybody had a parent like you. I wish everybody had a parent who was so passionate about this work and had really honed like how to talk to their kids. And so I guess one of my last questions for you is, if you could talk directly to everybody's children right now, what do you say to them? What are the things that we can all hear you say that we can parrot, that that are like you wish every child could hear?
I will say this: I try not to react. Just if my kid breaks a bowl and I react like, "How could you break this West Elm bowl?" And I'm like, I was so upset. If they can't trust me with the broken bowl, how do they trust me with, hey, they've been keeping up this conversation with someone online and now it's scary and they're scared because they shouldn't have even broached it. And I try to be unflappable and as even keel as possible, because I want them to trust me with that information. I want them to trust me when something goes awry, and trust that, look, kids, we will say to a teenager, oh, what were you thinking? They weren't. Their frontal lobe wasn't fully formed yet.
Exactly.
Right? So and that's not to shirk personal responsibility, but I think it's hey, constantly just telling them I'm here for you. There are people out there that act in such a way. And, I adjusted my language from when my kids were 7 versus, the way that I talk to a high schooler. But I think really just always leading with care and concern. And we have a really strong anti-victim blaming stance here at SOSA. And abuse is never a victim's fault. It's never a kid's fault. And I'll hear sometimes oh, these girls are posting pictures of themselves in a swimsuit on Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I do too. I went to the beach. What do you want?
Exactly.
Yeah, kids are allowed to take up space and be online and pursue things. And, they should do that safely without risk of somebody preying on them. And then I tell them too, look, I'll put a fake 10-year-old online and she's covered neck to knees and someone's still going to reach out. But the kind of victim blaming that we see, and I'll say too, one of the things that is I believe strongly is that queer kids deserve to be protected too.
Of course, yeah.
A lot of times it's I'm worried about my daughter, or I don't have girls, thank God. I'm like, what do you mean? Kids are targeted irrespective of gender, irrespective of sexuality. And there are so many kids, you're a teenage kid and you are feeling like you can't tell your parents about your sexuality, you're not out of the closet. And so you're going online, looking for community, looking for validation. And we have seen, we've posted teenage boys online and they have they're just trying to figure themselves out and they're trying to explore and do that in a safe way. And someone takes advantage of that, that's also not their fault. If a kid can't say to a parent, we've had people reach out and say, I couldn't report that I was abused because I wasn't out yet. And we really, really want to, I think the best thing we can do as parents is make our homes safe spaces for kids to tell the truth, whatever their truth is.
Yes. I mean, we live in a world, in a community where the word affirming is used a lot. And it doesn't have to just be about sexuality. Affirming, like affirming your kids' beliefs or affirming their self-esteem, affirming their ideas. I being a gay person, I'm so heartened to hear you say that, because there are so many kids who feel like they can't tell their parents because they aren't out. So yeah, thank you for doing that work. That's invaluable.
Oh, no, thank you. I mean, it's important to us because every kid deserves to be protected, right? So I think, parenting is hard. It's hard in general, but I think that, sharing some concerns, but also like my kids make fun TikToks and they enjoy listening to podcasts and they enjoy like allowing them to be who they are and explore interests, but also say, by the way, let's just heads up on this. And I don't take their phone and read all their messages. My kids vary in age, but we talk about it. We're like, hey, this thing happened. How do you feel about that? Or like, I noticed that you posted this. Let's talk about it. And I will say to parents too, if your kids want TikTok and they're going to be on TikTok, you should be on TikTok too. Figure out what it's about. They're on Roblox. Go on Roblox. You should be able to know how to navigate wherever they are online. And there's always going to be some new app and some new phrase. And I'm not asking everyone to like learn a new language, but just be aware of what your kids are doing online. Not in like a spy sort of way, but in a take interest in what your kid's doing sort of way.
Right.
Yes.
Because they'll find a way to get the app.
Yes.
Or they'll go to their friend's house, or they'll figure it out, or they'll, and you can't get mad at them for being a kid. If everyone else in the class has the app and they don't, then like, that's also not great for them either. It's like, we have to just have this trust where we can go to each other about things that are scary or stressful or confusing or.
And also too, like, people don't know TikTok has parental controls. Snapchat has parental controls. All these places have parental controls where it's not, I'm like, all right, I'm restricting what you can watch because you don't need to see that content on TikTok.
Right.
Or Snapchat, it might not tell me your messages, but it can show me who all the people you're snapping are. So I can say, oh, I just one of our rules is that you can only add people that you know in real life and not like so-and-so's cousin's brother who transferred schools. It's like, this person. So I'm like, hey, I see you've been snapping so-and-so a lot. Who's that again? Oh, that's my chem partner. Great. And who's this? Oh, we play basketball together. Okay, cool. Great. Thanks. Just doing a little check-in. Parents doing those regular check-ins and those regular chats makes it seem less foreboding than, okay, son, we're going to sit now and go through your entire phone.
Well, Ruth, thank you for this conversation. Hopefully you'll come back and talk to us more. I learned a lot from you as a parent today. I'm really grateful for that. And this has been amazing. Our listeners really have responded so well to our first episode. And I know we're going to be covering more soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth, so for everything, taking the time, just being fearless, you and your whole team. So thank you so much for everything you're doing, really, all of you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. This was great fun chatting with you guys in spite of the subject matter. But I it.
All right. Well, thanks. Well, hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, please.
Can't wait. Thank you, Rue.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, she is amazing. So once again, parents, take what Ruth said and go have a talk with your kids.
Please.
We had a conversation with Daisy. Daisy was actually really interested in tell me more. Like she didn't know about it. Yeah. I was really worried about Roblox because Daisy, like that's what Rue was like, they can chat on there. Daisy is not chatting on Roblox.
What is that?
It's one of those simulated world games where you build worlds and whatever.
Oh God. Yeah.
Daisy has no friends on it. We already looked. She's just doing it by herself.
Oh, great.
It's all very important. It's all, we got to do it.
Well, Rue is amazing. I just think she's incredible.
Me too.
And the whole team.
Well, thank you to them. Thank you all for listening. We love you. Go share this with somebody that you think needs to know about this stuff.
Yeah, just make sure you tell them to take care when listening, obviously, because you just listened to it.
Oh,
so you know.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, I'm officially micromanaging. Sorry. I don't know if you heard my stomach growling, but there's a hunger situation
Are you hungry?
happening.
Do you want some Goodles?
I would love that. It's that free though.
I know.
So we can't talk about it anymore.
Maybe next time we'll do an episode of my kitchen. We'll just cook Goodles.
Oh my God. They're a cartoon macaroni and cheese piece.
All right, fam. We love you.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.